How's it going, guys? We are back again, and I want to talk today about scapular warm-ups, particularly as it relates to bench pressing. You know, we see a lot of certain injuries associated with bench pressing, pec tears, shoulder impingements, those kind of nature of mechanical issues just from poor scapular control. You know, you develop a dominance of pec minor and the scapular protractors. Combine that with the fact that if you're doing much lifting, you're going to have really big, strong lats, again, furthering that internal rotation. So if we delve into the research on what are the muscle groups that when we train them help prevent or rehab from things like impingement, pec tears, cuff tears as well, and how can we integrate those into our warm-ups? Interestingly enough, I attended an in-service one time with a therapist who only worked with shoulders and he only saw them post-operatively. So he worked with one surgeon and then all his patients would go right to this physio and primarily dealt with rotator cuff repair. And he said that the biggest error we see when it comes to people, say, training the rotator cuff is they train the cuff when the shoulder blade's in a bad position. So if you've got poor scapular mechanics, and your shoulder blade is all out of whack, whether it's elevated and shrugged or protracted and forward, if you try and train your rotator cuff in one of these garbage positions, you're just going to make your problem worse. So before we begin training the rotator cuff, we have to ensure that our shoulder blade is in the proper alignment. Otherwise, we're just going to be training our cuff in a really shitty position. So with that in mind, we look at the muscle groups most responsible for realigning scapular mechanics or improving scapular mechanics. When we look at weightlifting, powerlifting, we're going to see a lot of weak serratus anterior muscles. Just because of the nature of the bench press, your scapula are generally fixed or pulled back. They're not having that free flow of protraction, retraction like you would in, say, a push-up. Additionally, weak external rotators, but again, that gets into the cuff. So we need to address muscles like the lower trap, middle trap, rhomboids, serratus anterior. Once those are trained up and we know our shoulder's in a good position, then let's go back and train some external rotation, whether it be your banded rotations or some closed chain work with a dumbbell, whatever you prefer. But we have to make sure that those muscles are trained. And having them warmed up for the bench as well. If you're trying to do any type of heavy pressing and you don't have good scapular stability, not only are you at greater risk for injury, but you're limiting how much you can press too. If you've got some weakness through the upper back and that shoulder blade, it's going to inhibit you from putting all of your effort into your benching. Your brain is a very smart thing. If it senses weakness and instability, it will not let you recruit full force through that body part. So for example, if you've got a really weak shoulder, you're not going to be able to press as much potentially as you could generate because your body will sense, hey, that's a compromised area. Let's not put maximal force to it. We're afraid of injuring it. So bringing up your weak muscles will allow your big muscles to do more work. That's how Mike Robertson puts it, and I agree completely. So when it comes to the bench, let's talk about warming up. Let's talk about getting all those shoulder blade muscles warmed up. So I'll run you through what I'm doing at the moment. And again, most of the research for this stuff in impingement correction is going to be lower trap, serratus, middle trap rhomboids. So with that in mind, we're going to run through some classic YTWLs or YTWs in this case, push-ups as well, working on that serratus as well as pec, tricep before talking about using it as a warm-up for bench. And finally, we'll get into just some isolated serratus work. So typically, YTWs, nothing new. We're going face down, starting palms in front. Some say 10 and 2. I like a little more at 11 and 1. Thumb is up. So that's going to engage our external rotators. When we come up, we're looking to pull the shoulder blades back and down. Okay, it's not arch your back and toss your arms up. It's keeping your abs tight and coming straight up slow and controlled. So we do 8 here. We come down into that T position. Same thing, maintaining thumbs up. Pulling shoulder blades up. 8 through here. Now as I'm doing this,
I'm trying not to shrug. Coming down, another 8. The struggle here is keeping that thumb high. I'm going right into a push-up. Now, when we do our push-ups, talking about these laws of torque that Kelly Stark puts forward, and these ideal joint mechanics of putting things in closed packed positions for stability. So as I'm doing my push-ups, fingers are forward, I'm screwing my hands into the floor. That base of the thumb is getting twisted in, my bicep is going to face the front of the room. So after the Y's and T's, I immediately come into 8 push-ups, again screwing those hands in, keeping that external rotation torque of that shoulder. Again, I'm probably going to do about 5 to 8 reps there. I'm not looking to use the push-up as a training device here. I'm looking to have it warm up my bench. So lower sets and reps, 5 to 8. Then I'm going right into serratus. Again, elbow straight, screw those hands in, biceps forward. Protraction, retraction. Tempo is important here. Most people will want to go through these, or they'll do it through a really short range of motion. Full range, very slow tempo. Again, try not to shrug too much with these. You want your shoulders back and down. And I'm looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 of these. That's the scapular circuit I'm currently using for my bench. I'll do 2 to 3 rounds of that, depending on how stiff or sore I am. I'll also run through that again as a cool down at the end of the training session. So far it's been great. Shoulders feel a lot better. Having some other people run through this as well who've been having some shoulder pain with pressing, be it bench press or overhead press, weightlifting exercises, you know, that jerk, anything that split stance overhead, been really good. So give that a try, guys. Warm up your shoulder blades first. Think, train your scapula, not your cuff. Not yet, not until you get your shoulder blade sorted into place. So I hope that helps. I'll see you next time.